I know, you 3 wheelbarrows.
Yes. Well, now one goes missing where it's gone.
I know, I'd like to know what Buffalo Link Station is. For putting a secret thing in the snow bow blade. I bet that gets used.
Hi.
Okay, thank you everybody, thank you, please quiet please, thank you. So welcome to Hexham Town Council's, this is the annual general meeting of Hexham Town Council here at Priors Hall, Hexham Abbey, on Monday the 30th of May 2024 at 6 p.m. So before we start the meeting, we have the sad news that one of our colleagues, Councillor Denise Bell, unfortunately and very surprisingly and very tragically died just 2 weeks ago. This whole thing is a bit of a shock to us all. We weren't aware of any illness, and I think it was just a really sudden passing. Denise's funeral is tomorrow. So I'm going to ask the council just to have a minute's silence in respect of Denise. Thank you. Just like to say a couple of words. So Denise was on the council for a couple of terms, so she's been on this council for several years. You know, it's very polite, well-mannered, really nice person to be around. Very delightful. Had a love of life, and I know she had some very solid friends around her, and you know, her family, I know, very upset by the whole, you know, unfortunate passing of Denise. Stephen, I don't know if there's anything from your side you want to say anything?
No, I've spoken to a number of colleagues who were very shocked. She was well liked by everybody who knew her, and she had the best smile, very many people.
Yeah.
And it's such a sad occasion, passing. And just send out our thoughts to her family and friends.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. Right, so now we'll now go to the agenda. So the first item is to elect the chair of the council, which would also take on the role as the town's mayor. Is there any proposal?
I nominate Derek Kennedy.
Okay, so I'll accept that nomination. Is there anybody else for a nomination? Anyone? No? Okay, so I'll accept that nomination. Thank you. And I'll now sign the paper of acceptance.
So, Derek, do you need a second? So,
No. So I've received the item 2 there, the declaration of acceptance of office. So welcome by the chair. Obviously, we now go into our 4th year of a 4-year electoral cycle. So this is our final year. You know, we've got lots of ambition still. We've delivered an awful lot, and we look forward to achieving a lot in the summer. We've got lots of things going on in the town. We've all been involved as the town and as the county councillors in the Heritage Action Zone, which is now just about finished after a long journey, and it's looking spectacular. You know, we've got the public realm in there. We've got the likes of the investment that's gone into the likes of the Coach and Horses and other buildings around. Obviously, the paving, the planters, the chairs, everything else that's going in there. So that's looking really, really good. So next few days, I think we'll see the efforts of all that hard work. And we know it's been hard for people. We know we've received an awful lot of complaints and observations and everything else. And we thank the public and the businesses who've had to, you know, work through that time. And it's been difficult for them. We understand that, but the benefits will be a huge amount. And it was really nice on Saturday to be walking down that street and seeing, you know, people sitting out, and you know, the town was alive. You know, we had that fantastic weather. A lot of visitors into the town, and it looked really, really good. We had the Hexham races on, so the hostelries were full. Big wedding on in the hotel. There was a band on in the Queen's Hall, which I went to see. You were grand, didn't you, Stevie?
Sat next to it.
Very good. And it was so we've got all that. So there's a lot of things happening in the town. I mean, we've just had the Tyne Green footpath is now delivered, looking really, really popular, and we're really, really successful. So a number of great things to happen in the town over the next period of time, and we know we can work together to get this across the line. Okay, so I'll now go to item 4, apologies for absence.
Apologies from Travis Estabit.
Okay. Item 5 is to elect the vice chair of the council, the deputy mayor. Do I have any nominations?
Faye Hardman?
Faye Hartland, do you accept that proposal? Okay, any other nominations? Okay, so the decision by the council is Faye Hartland will take that post. Any observations?
Yeah, just thank you very much. I look forward to working together for another year or last year or not, hopefully.
Yep. Right. 6, public participation. So we shall turn to our and see if there's anybody.
Every summer.
It's very trendy. Very trendy. Yeah, to welcome Barry. It's nice to see you. Glad to see you in a little while.
Well, I'd like to go back a little bit in history, Mr. Mayor. When I first came to Hexham at a meeting on the 4th of June 2018, I made a request to could be some improvements in the Wentworth toilets, and that was June 2018. In October 2018, I received a communication from Council that refurbishments were in hand. 6th of September 2019, I received a communication from David Huntgrove under the County Council, listing the funding for the 2021 financial year. Then they gave details, which I give you a copy of all the costs of all the renovation charges and toilet. Then on the 3rd of May 2024, I received a communication from Mr. Hunt stating work now rescheduled for early summer 2025. So whether I exist to see that, I'm not quite sure. So I don't know if you know anything about it, any progress, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll pass to Suzanne.
That is very optimistic. So I've not heard that. I heard that it had been dropped entirely, but if they're going to take it from next year's budget, that would be a good thing. I didn't see it in this year's budget at County Hall in March, so I didn't vote for the budget because that was missing, and so was £5 million for the bus station. So I didn't vote for the budget on that, on those reasons. I have more reasons than that, but that was part of it. So it had been promised that the Wentworth toilets and the St Mary's, completely reopened and lovely, would be the full shebang refit, and then Tyne Green and the Seal would just get more deep cleaning throughout the year and a few repairs to rooms and things. And then the next thing was that they ran out of money in the previous financial year, so they weren't going to push it any further. They were happy with the St Mary's toilets. And that's what I hope. But if they have moved it to spring 25, I would be thrilled. So I'd like to see that email.
Well, I got a communication from Mr. Hood on the 3rd of May 2026, saying, 2024, sorry, saying it was the vote next year.
We shall hope. We shall live in hope, Barry. Well done, you, Barry.
So I mean, just, you know, it is hugely disappointing, Barry, and I'm really glad to bring this up because it is hugely disappointing. I know, you know, I've worked with Suzanne and Trevor. You know, we actually brought the leader of the council to actually come and see the state of Hexham's toilet facilities about 3 years ago. You know, took them round. It sounds a bit comical, like, but it actually took place, and you know, we showed them, you know, how poorly served. You know, one, great, we've got these facilities, but you know, the standard of them is pretty poor. And for this to have slipped as long as it has, I'm very surprised that they're talking about the spring of 2025, because the budget for 25-26 has not been agreed. You know, there's
Maybe that's why they
yeah. So I find that hard to believe, to be honest, because the budget has not been agreed for the following year, because it has to go through the council, and that will be the back end of 2024. So it is hugely frustrating, hugely disappointing. We all recognise that, you know, those toilets need refurbed, cleaned, and so we will continue to push for that. But it's not what we want at all.
No, exactly that. But if you can send that email, we'll definitely ask what their intentions are at the end of this year.
I mean, the windows are sealed up and they don't even open the windows.
Yeah. Well, it's the gateway to Hexham, isn't it? It's
Which
the
is-
tourist service where people arrive on big coaches. It needs to be
First place people
the
go
business.
on,
Exactly
last
that.
place to go in.
Exactly. So it needs some attention, even if it's not for a refit. But that was what was promised, so we will follow it up. If that is as well, Declan has said that, I will ask him.
May I just add to this, please?
Yes, of course.
So this is slightly different, but I think that it might help our case anyway in the interim, is that we were having a discussion because there's an event being held at the Abbey where there's, we hope, going to be quite a lot of people coming, and the Abbey toilets will not be able to service that number of people. So we're talking about signposting to other public toilets, and then we decided that actually we need to do an audit of public buildings that have toilet facilities. And this is not a way of letting the council off the hook, but actually, if people are coming, then they want to know where they can go, and we can signpost nice toilets instead of horrible ones. And so that's sort of in hand, because the Queen's Hall, it costs the Queen's Hall £10,000 a year to keep their toilets open for public use. And they undertake to do that because they think the provision of good public toilets is a human right. And perhaps we need to be couching our conversations in those terms.
Very good point.
If I may add, Mr. Mayor, there's no signs in the marketplace saying I was going where the toilets got renovated behind the chapel one day, and there was a family came, and the man and the boy went into the gents, and the disabled one had a sign on saying it was out. And the lady was a bit in a quandary where to go, whether she went in the mail, but there's no sign to say it's at the back of the thing. So I think they need to be designed a sign in the marketplace.
And certainly, I think there's also one that one of the points that I don't think is well known about was the ones at the new bus station, and there's ones there,
Yeah.
you know, but they're not, like, and if you don't know them, nobody.
Yes, yes. They're a bit limited, those.
Yeah, but at least they're there, you know,
Yes.
I mean, I think the way I look at it is like, say if you go to many other towns, they don't have many facilities, we have a number, but the standard is very low. So I think that's where we have.
I just was a little query, but the March meeting when I brought up about the town draining, was there some planned maintenance? And you stated you were going to a meeting the following day to bring it up on the meeting, and I was just wondering what progress, if any.
So as I mentioned like several times, it's a case of, you know, people have to like say, right, there's a problem here, and they will then attend to them. So that, which is what fix my street up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I do absolutely accept that what's being reported versus what's being fixed are two entirely different things.
The whole of the West Roads, all the tricky stuff like that. I mean, I don't know what the road was like last night after the heavy rainstorm, but when you go along, they're all full.
Yeah. Right, you're absolutely right to bring it.
And did you bring it up at the following meeting? Yes. Right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I was hanging around both the Corbridge Road, which is really bad at the moment, and the West Road with high highways on Thursday. And he was saying the nub of this problem is that these are roads that are lined with trees, and the debris from that ends up in the gullies. That's it. And the geography is that we're a valley, so everything flushes down. And there is currently in the Western Midlands one gully wagon, to cover between here and Bellingen and what there used to be, was it Andale saying that there was
3 or 4.
3 or 4 at one point, and now we're down to 1. So we need major investment in another couple of gully wagons, and then maybe it wouldn't be such a problem, and there would be regular maintenance to churches. But at the moment, well, that's it. One gully face, we call him, and that's him.
Yeah, and you know the point raised again, excellent point, Barry, and is, you know, if you're cleaning these out, it's causing more damage to the road surface and everything else, because the water, instead of like going down the gullies, actually sitting on the road surface, and it's just causing, you know, deprivation to the thing. So to basically it's to spend save really that's the more machinery, we get the better.
I mean, I'm just sorry,
Sorry.
I'm just bringing this up thinking I'm doing somebody a favour, like pointing out the problem, but whether I should just.
No. You want?
We miss you anyway. Yeah.
Well, I'm getting on a bit, mate.
Yes, thank you. There's no meeting like you.
You might not put that in the minutes.
Thank you. Very good. Right, so thank you to Barry for your saying you're welcome. Right, disclosure of members' interests, any interests? No. Okay. Dispensations of any? Minutes of the last meeting to receive and sign of the true record of the minutes of the full council meeting held on Monday, 8th of April 2024. So we'll go through those. So page 3. Actually, I'll raise them on page 3. So we had the excellent discussion on the water quality. I think Suzanne, were you going to take away and see if we can get that on the 10-day local area?
Yeah, I must have asked them.
Thank you.
Straight away, but I haven't heard that yet.
Right, covered, we'll pursue that, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I can't remember when I asked. I was just after.
Yeah, I think we'll straight after. So I think the reason, as I was said at the time, the reason, I think obviously it's a very, very important subject, this, but the time obviously only passes through Hexham for maybe a mile. And obviously the problem is north time, south time, the time, all the way through these county divisions. So I thought if we can get it through the Tynedale local area council for a discussion, it gets all the county, the towns and parishes and the county involved in that, to say, look, where is the problem that lies right across us? Because it's one of the key networks that joins the whole of Tynedale together is the river quality. But of course, it's not just the Tyne, of course, it's others. So right, we'll pursue that. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. And page 10. Right. So we've done that. Right. So I'm proposing. Same all pages. Okay. Right, 11, confirmation of standard order. So I was going to put the following motion on. I've spoken to several of you about this. So I'll read the motion and I'll just give you an explanation of why I proposed this. That was the immediate effect. The standard orders are amended so all members of the council can attend and have, this is the important part, voting rights at the 3 main committees of community engagement, finance and general purpose, planning and infrastructure. And the benefit is to make the council more open and enable all councillors to contribute to the decision making of the council. So I've never really been comfortable and never really understood why a number of councillors only attend each of the committee meetings. Because I always felt as though I don't know, I just never really understood why it was like that. And we've had several occasions over the years. I think Tom, you wanted to be on FGP. We could put Tom on FGP because it was full, so we had to wait. We've also had several people want to come and speak and represent a certain subject at one of the committees, but they weren't a member of it, so they could be invited to come, but they couldn't vote. So it all gets a bit out there counter to me. And this is the reason why I thought, well, actually, just to make this a bit more simple and to allow everybody, so anybody can go to the committees, but only those who are named can have the voting rights. So this addition of expanding the committees to have all members of each of the committees will allow that purpose to allow. So say, for example, Suzanne has the multi-use games area that's going to be proposed for Hexham East and the Hexham Priory school land, which is not a member of planning and infrastructure, which is where that rightly would go. So this would allow Suzanne to come to talk about this project and actually have voting rights. So it's those types of examples that it will allow people to actually really engage. So I know, say Alison, for example, has been interested in moving the marketplace forward. So if she wasn't on a committee, it would become a little bit difficult. So it would just allow those persons. And we've had, I think, Penny with the Grow Hexham, where you've you've had a few struggles getting into certain committees. So I just think it's like knocks down all those barriers, allows everybody to really play an engaging part in it and to carry it forward. And particularly, I think for the Financial General Purposes Committee, that's where the budgets are all really built up. That takes me into the full council for budgeting. So that would be another example where we can all get in there and make those influences before it gets to full council. So I'll open that up for debate. Do I need to propose? Do I need to step in that first?
I think it's on the webcast for when you come to vote.
Right. Okay. Right. So.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea, but could I request that we still have a list of who is on each committee so that people can actually opt out if they don't want to be on one?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, as a chair, it's quite often difficult to get enough people to come anyway, and if you don't actually know who is interested in being on the committee, that would make it even more difficult. So if everybody wants to be on F&GP, that's fantastic. But if anyone actually would like to opt out so that I know they don't want to come, then I don't need to include them in.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah. Jim?
I think it's a great idea in principle, but I have one reservation, and that's to do with having everybody involved, extending the times of meetings and everybody being able to have their say. And I think it sort of puts more pressure on chairs to make sure that everybody's had their say.
Really good point. Suzanne?
I think it's a great idea. I think, yes, as Jenny said, we'll just have to keep a tighter ship because some have been, overrunning recently, and it is just a case of sort of good discipline, healthy meetings. But I like that it's everyone's involved and that it's not exclusive anymore. It allows people to be part of the different branches of the Town Council, really.
Betty?
Yeah, I support this, and one of the reasons that's not been mentioned yet is that I think that under the current system, it's quite difficult for every councillor to know everything that's happening.
Yeah.
So you end up with a partial view of things, or you're actually not involved. And I think the idea of a phase that you actually opt out, so if you decide that finance is not what you're interested in, sorry to identify that one, but then that's fair enough. But at the moment, I do know that a number of councillors don't know everything that's going on, and that's not their fault. It's because they are not allowed to participate in the whole running of the council due to this sort of random cap on numbers. So I would applaud it, and I think we should see how it goes as well, because if it becomes unmanageable, then we need to have a group conversation about how we manage it. But as a principle, we're all part of the council and we should all work together.
Yeah. I mean, to sort of champion with that, not everyone knowing what's going on, and they might still not, because they might not always call all meetings, they might not have that time. But yeah, and I would certainly sort of like, as I think we sort of mentioned, but certainly the reports that are put in by the different committees themselves to be kind of, summarised for the full council, so people know what's going on, because it's all written there, but not everyone will get to page 5 of them or whatever. And then we can say what's happened in just a brief summary, each full council meeting from each committee chair.
Any more?
Just
Yes.
do we have too many meetings of the subcommittees?
Winnell's community engagement's gone down to sort of every 2 months, but then it steps up then for remembrance at the end of the year.
I understand the necessity.
Yeah, so some of the, we were told we had too many at one point last year, and so that was an attempt to resolve that was made. Obviously planning has to meet every 3 weeks. I don't know about yours, Faye.
Well, F&GP, we've been in discussion. It was less frequently.
Yeah.
But then we found we were actually missing things, and you lose sometimes that continuity. If so we've gone for every month again, but I'm open to negotiation. That if we, it's difficult to get it right.
Yeah, it is. I don't have an answer.
I'll bring Mike.
Well, just to thank Andrew, because Andrew came up with a really good idea for changing planning, so we've got planning meeting every 3 weeks, which was a bit onerous for me. So what we have is we have a planning meeting every 3 weeks. So we have a small meeting and a large meeting, and it works quite well. So that was Andy's idea, so thank you.
So I'll bring Penny in another.
So I think I think Stephen's point's quite interesting. I think that my experience from the town council from an outsider, not necessarily this town council, but town councils, but that they were slow in responding. And I think that if we've got town councillors who are willing to put the time in, that has actually characterised the speed at which we have actually enacted lots and lots of things in the last 3 years. And so I think that this model works. So people think, well, you know, because of other commitments, I can't come to all those meetings. Then they don't come to all those meetings. But there will be a constituency of us which drive things forward. And I think we have to keep up that momentum. Has been extraordinary in what we've managed to achieve fast. So there's the tension between our time, which is voluntary, but also the requirements of planning and of budgeting and all the rest of it. But also, I think, a wish that we keep our momentum up. And so I think that this addresses all of that.
Just to clarify what Mike was saying with planning was that because we've got a legal requirement to deal with planning applications, we do those every 3 weeks at a lunchtime. So anybody obviously is welcome to that, I guess, in the new system. But that's quite short and sharp, isn't it? Because we just go through those planning applications and then, is it every 6 weeks that we have the big ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we spread those out a bit more, meaning it's less onerous to do planning.
Anyone else? John, do you want to speak? No. Okay. Right, I'll just finish off then. So I think that's been a good debate. I think the point raised by Jenny was really, really solid, and by everybody else as well. So I think there's a greater onus on the chairs, to be accountable and to keep their committees like running as efficiently as possible. Obviously, I think the chairs are going to have to, really work with all the members to say, look, turn up. We need, your input. Obviously, everybody can't turn up for everything, but that's why we have a large number of people on the council. So, so that has to be that give and take. And obviously, people have other commitments. So, so this will be an amendment of the standing orders to qualify Penny's mention there. Is that obviously changes to standing orders can be made at any time. So if we did this and thought like actually it's been not a very good idea and we need to go back to previous, we can just bring it back and go, right, actually we want to change the standing orders to something different. But I'd probably suggest that we'll send this through a whole year's life cycle just to get, just to see actually how it actually operates. So that's the proposal. Is there a second? Loads of seconds, as I said, third and fourth.
I take the first one completely. Are we talking about entitlement rather than everybody's a member? Does that make sense? Everybody's entitled to be a member.
Yes.
I'm trying to accommodate yours within the way.
Yes.
But not everybody necessarily is a member of that committee. They can't just turn up.
Yes, no, they can't. So there'll be a member and have voting rights. But you may want to sort of talk with the chair to go, actually, there's several people who are going to be like core members of it, and you may just turn up for the on occasion. There may be certain things where you actually are more interested in community engagement and finance as opposed to the plan. So, but I think we just need to talk with the chairs about who's going to be regular attenders, just to make sure that we are quorum. This does not amend the quorum, so the quorum is three people to make that committee quorum, so that does not change that at all. That was one of the concerns about that, so it doesn't change that. So, do we have a second? What was it? No, take Penny as a second. So we will now go to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. So appointment to committees, well, that's done. By that. As I say, I would just have that agreement with the chairs.
So just for clarification, are people going to inform the chair or inform me as to which committees they wish to be on or wish not to be on?
I think both. Not to be on. So they're automatically opted in.
Tell you what, if I send
Yes.
something
Right.
around,
Yeah.
just tick a box as to which one.
Yes. A little matrix with a crisscross thing. I think would be good. Yeah. Right. That's really good. Right. A review of assets. Number 13. Do you want to?
It's just to know, really.
So, was there any reason why
You're supposed to look at it every year.
Okay. So, as part of the annual, Andrew and I had a good conversation about this meeting, and actually there's a long list of like things that could and couldn't be included in it. So, we put most of the things that we thought really need to be in. One of the items, which I don't think we've ever done this before, but I can remember, maybe we have, is to have an actual review of all the assets that we own. So obviously Andrew's kindly put that together, and you can see it's quite a significant amount of things. Certainly the bush shelters is probably more than what we all anticipated.
These are all things that we actually own. Did we release additional things for this as well?
We do lease some additional bits.
Just so I'm obsessed with accounts sometimes. Is there a value against this that goes into the?
Yeah, the way the council does its accounts is that it's there's no depreciation. It's whatever we purchase price.
So there's no depreciation.
There's no depreciation on anything.
Is there a value to all of this? That
There is a value. I mean, if people are interested in the values, I can send the values.
but it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah. Well, I'll send a copy around with values just for those. Well, and then those that are interested can read it, and those that aren't, don't have to.
Maybe something, would that be an F&G thing?
Well, it could be, or it could be an I, it could be.
I think there might be an item missing on here, which is our benches, town benches. Because actually, I think that would be quite useful to know, not in terms of value, but where they are, because it's so complicated. About who owns which public bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with
I'll take the month of September off to ascertain who owns which bench.
So,
Well, they have got labels on them.
Some of them have. It's ridiculous, the demarcation as to who owns which benches.
I know.
But yeah, it would be, even if it was just to put a number on, it would be useful.
Yes, I think so, thank you.
sorry, Kim.
No, it was just said to you just the planters and planting areas as well. When we first came in, it was a delicate job to actually work out what belonged to town council and what was county. So I can give you a list of those if you want to include it.
Do you need do the planters have Hexham Town Council?
Some of them, so the smaller ones on Beaumont Street do. Then we've got several which have Tynedale Council on them.
Right.
And the new ones, as far as I'm aware, don't have anything on them.
Right. So one look, because that was one of the reasons why we got the little badges, because I used to drive me nuts over the years when they used to go like, that's ours, that isn't ours, that's it. So that's one of the things I'd asked Jane to do, was to get the badges and get everything. So one, so we know, and two, just from a it actually shows that the Hexham Town Council's brand name is actually put around. But certainly, I think wherever we've got any assets that are missing, those Hexham Town Council badges, we need to do something about that. Suzanne?
The plans for some police club and new ones are getting badges put on,
Are they?
so I remember from a conversation with Val, so I can follow that up because it's meant to be Historic England and NCC and ours
Right.
on there. And then there's the lights that we own are missing as well, the Christmas lights for the bandstand. And we now own 2 sets for Peace Couple. For the 2 trees there, we had to get some new ones, so we bought those outright. And they're stored by Ghana.
I'll bring Johnny to the sport.
Thank you. I'm intrigued by the monster play system. And I know that we're responsible for the play park equipment. Do we also own the play park land?
We do.
We do. So that's not mentioned here.
Bins?
Bins.
Oh, it's just like a game, isn't it? And also, I mean, not to be pedantic, but you know, staff jackets and uniforms and stuff, because if somebody leaves, that still belongs to us.
I mean, I think
That's
you've just got to draw a line
Yes.
somewhere, and it's mainly
Fair enough.
capital.
Yeah, signage.
Sorry, did Baker, you want to please?
That's, just want to, if we wanted to, we can, if we wanted to pick any item on that list, we can actually sell it. For a bench, like I say, once again, with the bench, 10 benches, we can sell it and the money goes into the town council. Okay. Well, I'm just sorry, that was Margaret Thatcher. Andrew has highlighted, we've got quite a lot of maintenance on the actual some of the cemetery buildings. So they need to be maintained, there's quite a lot of funding that needs to be put, and I just sat there back and I thought, do we need to maintain the buildings? You know, what's the benefit to the Hexham Town if we fix the chapel? Yeah, it was just a thought, and I just thought, why spend money on a building, we can spend it elsewhere in the town.
I don't think we should be asset stripping, I think
No.
we should be... I think we should be fundraising, actually, and I think that's a different question. But I would like to know what a 1996 billy goat sweeper is, please.
Shame on you not knowing that.
It's just it's a push along sweeper, so there's an engine on that just gathers the leaves and whatnot.
And is it shaped like a goat?
No, it's the brand.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. This is very interesting.
I've got one question that popped up to me was, yeah, great that you can give us the figures against what these things cost, I guess, or what they're worth is what we're talking about initially, I think.
No, it's what the cost.
Okay, so basically, for example, the second chapel, will there be a figure against what it costs us to keep that going?
This is where it gets a bit complicated because in most cases it's the cost of purchase, but I think on some buildings it's a building cost, it's a rebuilding cost. So there is a figure there, but it's accuracy. I wouldn't like to put too much money.
Why is there no depreciation in practice? I can't understand that.
Well,
accounting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was something like £800 or something that the chapels were bought for. I mean, if we on the process, I guess by rights it should have £800, but for whatever reason it's got a few £100,000.
I think Penny's comment about fundraising is very valid.
Absolutely. That's listed on the chapel's listed.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this raises quite an interesting point, really. So we've got an asset list. For me, my response to this asset list is that it's always a good idea to know what you've got in, available to you and in the cupboard. I don't see there's any value in asking Andrew to waste his time finding out how much the replacement value is for something, because by the time we replace it, that will be an obsolete figure. We're not going to go asset stripping despite Mike's suggestion. And so it doesn't matter how much value they've got. What it matters is that they're there and that we know about it and that we know where our responsibilities lie. So I've just, it's just, I haven't finished actually, thank you, Suzanne. But that's what my reflection on this conversation is about. For me, the asset list is so that we know what we've got, not. And then at a point where we want to replace, or we suddenly think, well, actually, we really don't need a 1996 Billy Goat sweeper, then we would decide to capitalise on our assets. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we have an asset list at work for all computing, all equipment, and for insurance purposes, it has to have a rough estimate cost. So we have to go around the office and say what the new things we bought are, and then the older things. It doesn't have to be an exact figure, but it does have to be done for insurance purposes, for businesses. That's just standard.
And if you're going to look at fundraise, so you would offset the cost of the second chapel, you need to know the cost of the purchase and what the value is to offset it in the accounts.
Yeah, but you would find it at the time that
Plus, okay, plus at the time, okay. But you still need it.
So was there a suggestion that Andrew Vaughan cost all of this? And are we saying we don't want to do that?
You just have to have a rough average. You don't have to have an exact cost.
why?
There's two different things. There's an insurance thing, which yes, you do need to have a rough cost, and we've got that for each thing.
Right.
That's one thing. But for town council finances through our reporting procedure, the way we account for things is on their purchase price, not their value.
Right, okay.
So that's the figure that we need to keep for our kind of finances.
So do you have that already, just as a matter of course, so you don't have to go out and do extra work to do?
No, that's been kept year on year, so it's not something I've had to do.
Right, okay. So that information is ready at hand. So it's not as if Andrew has to go and do extra work. So it's further than just.
Yeah, but that's the purchase, and that's for insurance purposes. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, that was exciting, wasn't it?
More exciting than
Because of the
New benchmark.
a scoring system.
Yeah. Right. So that was that. So the review of policies and procedures. So there's a list of all the review dates, the policies and other documents. So there's a long list there from anti-bullying, code of conduct, disciplinary, health and safety, lone worker, etc. So you can see that there's a scheduled date for all those being reviewed at the various committees. So Penny, do you want to come in?
So has the social media policy been reviewed, or is it outstanding? Because it says January 2024.
It's outstanding.
Okay, thank you.
That was when it was scheduled. That was most of the dates there are historical dates, and
So when is that going to get done and by who?
bring it up at CE.
Yeah, I was we're talking about social media at one point, see this Thursday, so we could just put it in there, because it's about scheduling, we could have a look at what we need to do there. I think we did have a draft though, when he was chair, we did do a draft with Claire and Penny, there was a kind of policy, so I don't know why that's gone on.
It'll be there somewhere.
Sorry, I just wanted another one
Sorry,
that's
sorry.
outstanding as well. The methods of working for burials and memorials was April 2024. So I don't know who does that. Is that planning?
It come under B&R.
Okay. Dates of the fall meeting. Dates of meetings for the following year.
No, we've got F&GP have suggested the third Tuesday of the month, but that's to be confirmed. P&I would stand as is on a 3-week cycle. Full council remaining second Monday of the month, and see you to confirm after the meeting this week. But you've got scheduled dates for the rest of the year. So, and it was just following on from the chair's meeting, whether that's to be more regular or whether it just stay as it is.
Yeah, we're going to get closer together after the summer, and then tie in with remembrance, so it's quite key with the two, running the two together, so it's that's how it.
But in the minutes from today's meeting, I'll put each of the dates for each of the committees through to next month.
Chair, can I just ask a question? We didn't always used to meet in August. Is there a requirement for the town council to meet in August? Oh, again, I'm just asking the question.
We never that,
No, we started.
The requirement is you meet 4 times a year.
I'd like to propose that we don't meet in August.
I'd like to second.
I'll third that.
Planning applications are still submitted in August, so you're going
But we didn't used to. We didn't used to meet in August.
Full council meeting, we did it.
No, we didn't. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, sorry, clarification. Do you mean committee meetings? No committee meetings in August or no
I'm
full
saying
council?
no council meeting in that, no, major meeting like this.
Yes.
And it's up to other, I think we meet too much, but that's just my view. And I think during the summer, it's a true reflection of what we should be about. I think we drop off in terms of standards, because there aren't enough people there.
Right.
Yeah. So is that?
Can we go to number?
Well, yeah. So there'll be a vote on
So what's the vote?
that wherever possible, well, with the exception of planning, it's not just a planning element because that needs to meet, that the council does not have scheduled meetings in August. So show of hands. 4, so that's the thing. Against? 3. So have I got mayor's announcements yet?
We haven't actually.
Oh, no, I've got a big list.
It's not the agenda.
Imagine what it'd be like in September if the
Before we move on to the next item, can I just ask about I can't remember what the proper title of it was, but the town meeting. Is that what it's
That's
called?
what this one is.
The annual meeting.
No, not the AGM, where we have the
No,
the other meeting. What's the other meeting called?
Town meeting.
The annual town meeting. Haven't got a date for the annual town
We
meeting.
do not have a date for the annual town meetings yet.
It's where the public can come and we talk about our achievements. I
I'll
think.
leave that to Andrew go next.
It was going to be this evening, but for various reasons it wasn't. But we haven't scheduled the scheduled meeting. We haven't determined.
Okay, thank you.
So can you explain what it is? Because it's kind of.
The annual town meeting is a meeting for electors of the town to come together to discuss whatever's opposite for the electors of the town. It tends in other places to be an annual review of sorts for the town where different organisations can come and pass on the message of what they've achieved in the year. In other places, it's a prelude to town council meeting and it has no substance at all. The only kind of other function of an annual town meeting is that it can have polls. You know, so if you wish to have a poll on whatever issue that people are interested in at the time, then that's an avenue for doing that. But other than that, there's the main reason it's been used other than that elsewhere is where new parish and town councils are formed. So every parish, whether it's got a parish or town council, can still have an annual parish meeting.
John?
Is it a statutory requirement?
It is, yes.
So it's more like to me, it's more like a public meeting. You know, so it's not a, you know, we talked about this before where we had the Northern Water here, and you know, there was talk about saying, oh, the public had it, but that was a meeting of the council, and we did the best we could, was allow the public to ask questions during public questions, and then the meeting of the council takes place. So this allows it to be a public meeting where, you know, there can be that interaction between all attendees.
I think it's something that we should take more seriously, actually, because I think that that these meetings are governed by an agenda and a particular set of processes that have to be followed. Whereas this is an opportunity, we could make it what we want it to be. And I know that we have the stall in the marketplace, but not everybody attends that, and also it doesn't happen, you know, it's people who are not in the market don't know it's there. Whereas if we had a proper run-in time where we were actually clear about what its function was, then it's an opportunity for us to overcome, I think, there's a communication problem which is not particular to Hexham, it's everywhere, but people don't actually know what their town council does, and they conflate our responsibilities with the county council. And I just think it's an opportunity for us to clarify what we can do and what we've done, and then engage with our electorate once a year.
No, I agree. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen with the public. It's a really valuable thing. I think it has to be well promoted and a running time, which we now don't have. So it's got to be before June 1st, it's got to be after March the 1st, it's got to be in that window, and it's got to be after 6 o'clock at night, and it's not meant to be really joined onto the council meetings. So there's a lot of statutory requirements that are there for it, and I think we've got, as you say, it could be a great showcase for us all to say, this is what we've done, and then public question, you know, and I think it could be brilliant if done really well. I think it's, yes.
So I just ask, so I'm just conscious it's like the 13th of May. It has to be done before the 1st of June. So obviously we're kind of, the window is short. Have we missed that opportunity for this year? Do we plan a very good one for, say, early March next year? Is that the way to do it? Or I'm still unsure as to why that is the statutory dates, to be honest. I mean, like, who the hell cares? You know, you have them when you want, really. Or a question to the top.
I mean, it's laid down. It is a peculiar situation because it's not something that the town council itself necessarily has to do. It's often facilitated by the town council. Every parish should have one, but there's no kind of mandate in terms of what happens if it doesn't happen or that kind of thing. It's certainly something that's drifted elsewhere, but that's not necessarily a reason to ignore the fact that we should have one, and that, you know, as a council we're responsible to the electorate of Hexham.
So just on the date business, so if we have one after the 1st of June, I thought they're going to be all in front of the court.
I wouldn't expect so. I mean, in terms of, I mean, the worst that's likely to happen is it forms part of the our annual governance assessment through AGA, and it's likely to be picked up there that it's not happening. Right.
So can you have a hand up first?
Yeah, so I think this is an interesting situation. I think that I would prefer that we did it after the 1st of June and that we did it properly and it was a meaningful exercise. I think we have got mitigating circumstances in that we had no clerk for a period of time. So there are reasons why there have been, that could be presented as to why there's a delay, and that we actually, and then if we can evidence that we did as quickly as was reasonable to expect, but also in the best time frame, hold that meeting.
Yes, following on from that, but perhaps we could have just a short statutory one, like as soon as we can, but then call it something slightly different, like meet your council or something. So we could actually do everything that we would want to do if we'd had more time, but we can then choose the date when we have it and do it properly by just calling it something slightly different, but we fulfil the statutory side by squeezing it in before the 1st of June.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to hold it if you have the proper one after June. You just need to have a really good facilitator. So you give the councillors a bit of a rest, but somebody can facilitate as well to avoid any people that cause problems, if you know what I mean. So if it's facilitated well, it can be done very well.
So I mean, I think the point, fair point by Dave, but like to me, I'm just the whole date business is lost on me. I can't see, like, I'd rather we just choose it. I wouldn't want to do a song, let's put it that way, and just to say, oh, I don't want that. So I think if we're going to do it, and if there's a will amongst the councils, we do it properly and have a decent plan, like what we've done. I know there's been some very, very good, if it's a facilitated exercise where it's like asking people what they want out of the town. We did have one, I think it was Bob Hull, had got some facilitator that I have met several times, the name escapes me, who was excellent. And she had said she'd always do it again, but at no cost.
Was it Claire Maxwell?
Me, that's right. And she was absolutely sensational. And we had it in the big hall. Were you around for that? No. Were you Tom? Were you around for that one?
I may have been.
Yeah. It was big in the big hall. I think it was really, really well done.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Several years ago, probably pre-COVID, I guess. And it was very, very good. So, I mean, if you wanted to do something like that, that would be an option, but I'm not saying it has to be like that, but that could be an option. Certainly it's been done before, but so what do you want to do? What does the council want to do? Who wants to help organise such a thing? I'm happy to be involved.
Yeah, I'm happy to be involved as well.
Yeah.
But I think we should decide whether we're going to have, I think it's two separate things, isn't it? Like, we need to decide whether we're going to have, what can only be described as a sort of fast one in order to comply, or whether we're just going to ditch that whole idea and just go, let's have a proper one in July or September.
Because it's a statutory requirement,
Yes.
I've got to do my proper officer bit and say it is the officer's advice that you comply with statute and have one in the required time frame. Whether you follow my advice is entitled to you say.
But you could put in there that we've decided that it's going to be done at a later date.
But I'm just wondering whether we should, oh, sorry.
The town council has a status, isn't it? There is a
good town council or we're following some set of rules and guidelines to be able to achieve that status. I think we've achieved good, and I know we're looking later, but it's not really been fall down the wayside. So in order to maintain good, I'm very certain we have to make sure we stick with this statute.
Yeah, John, then.
Just is this not a conversation for the CE committee?
Yeah, probably is actually. Do we say it in CE? Right, we'll set up the CE rather than have a volunteer.
Can I just
for a volunteer also to CE.
Can I just make one last point then? The very fact that we run a stall at the farmers' market,
Exactly.
I wonder whether we could undertake to do that at the next farmers' market, which is in 2 weeks' time, and that is our platform for, and we let it be known to everybody that they come and talk to us as a preface to the one that's going to happen later.
That's
Really good idea.
That's a great idea.
Really good idea.
Okay.
Brilliant idea. I knew I'd come up with one.
There'll be close on it, Derek.
It's right, I'm used to it. So the next farmers market, the 25th?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's a good, I think that, and also it could be a sort of, not a warm-up.
It is a really good idea, and I think it's much more realistic, but it has to be after 6 o'clock.
It's after 6 o'clock on Friday.
I think it's a good yes, it's not working week, so the whole point of the 6 o'clock is it's access to everyone.
Absolutely.
Saturday is access to everyone, so do,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think that's valid.
Thank you very much. I need a gold star. Thank you.
So I'll be in attendance, I think, in France.
Yes, so will I actually.
For the 9-1 exchange.
But could we do something on social media about it,
Yeah.
so that people know that we're there?
Right, okay, so, right, that's sorted. So next is correspondence.
Correspondence, yeah, we've had correspondence from Dementia Friendly Tynedale, Chrysalis Club, correspondence about Tyne Green Bins, film camp screening, West Northumberland Food Bank AGM, Love Northumberland entries, NALC and CAN, and one the other notable bit from NALC, which will be going to FNGP, is that there's new financial protocols, the national standards for financial protocols coming through, so that's a useful bit of advice that's that we'll incorporate.
So, did you mention Tyne Green Bins already?
I did mention
Yes, that's been the topic of conversation. So we'll use that as we'll just have a little discussion on that. So I think several of us have had lots of communications on the Tyne Green Bins. So this all stemmed from the excellent and very impressive new Tyne Green gravel walkway, which is County Council done as part of a memorial to the former Queen of England, Elizabeth II. However, as part of that, the council removed the bins that were next to that path. They didn't tell the councillors, which was fantastic. And we started getting emails going, where's the dog bins going? I don't know. So, I mean, I knew the council staff said, when you put the dog bins back in, we're not putting them back in. Why not? Because we use vehicles to actually go and collect it. You can imagine the dirt and whatever that they have to pick up. But we don't want to put a vehicle going along there because it'll damage the obviously very new pathway. So you're like, okay, so how are you going to communicate to people that that's not going to happen? And it's gone very silent because I haven't told anyone. So this has gotten to a right ding dong. So I've asked the council to go like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to communicate this? Because we're getting battered by everybody for the lack of bins. So I asked the council, said, well, how many bins have you got? I don't know. So I went down on the bike, and I mean, I had a look, and I was dead surprised how many bins there are. That's like, I counted, and this is at least, because I know there was more, but there was at least 24 big household bins in the car park, right along, and next to the barbecue area, and I know there'll be other ones elsewhere as well. So there was at least 24. So there's a significant amount of bins, but to me it seems to be like a bit of a cons issue. It's like, well, why haven't you told anybody? So yeah, people are sort of being told are leaving, bagging the stuff and then leaving it, which I find bizarre. So we're still communicating with the council, between the Suzanne, Trevor and the council local services team, is to go like, how do we do this? I mean, I've asked them and said, well, why don't you do like a little digital map where you can put like, there's bins here, and so it comes it out to everybody, because we're just getting, you know, what is a fantastic thing that's been done with a pathway is now turned into an absolute own goal in the lack of communication. You know, and if it is means you know, like electronically comms people and putting some little signs, you know, in various places, say, look, you know, the closest bin is like 20 metres away at the car park. You know, people are going out there to walk the dog, so walking the dog 20 metres is nothing. But I think that's where this has all fell down, and it's getting really animated on our favourite Facebook page. So that's where we're at. Any observations?
Just possibly a silly one, but do you think there's anyone who thinks they can only put their dog poop in a dog poop bin? And maybe that needs to be part of the communication, that you can actually put your dog poop in.
So that there's no such thing as a dog poop bin?
No, there isn't now, but
Yeah.
there was before they took those away. And I know my neighbour was telling me that somebody had put a great pile of them where the dog poop bin used to be.
Yes.
Where there may have been another bin not too far away. So I'm just wondering, as part of the communication, if it's, I mean, it sounds really silly, but whether it's worth saying you can put your dog poop in a normal bin.
Yeah.
You know.
John?
It's just another example of the county council doing things to Hexham without telling us.
Yeah.
And if we'd been told this was the plan, we'd have said, don't do it,
Yeah.
or do it better, or whatever. But
Yeah.
is there someone that we can complain to and say we need better communication between county and town? And
So I've got a private meeting with the chief executive this week, and I will be raising this matter as to go, like, because I really have high regard for the new chief executive, and I keep telling her about certain cultural issues that I think are wrong with the county council, in that they do stuff, they certainly do not tell the councillors things, and then when we take all the criticism for it, you know, why have you done this? I didn't know that, you know, and all this, and I will be explaining to her this. She lives locally, she knows the area, she knows the new pathway, and you know, and I mean, actually bumped into her the other day in Morpeth, and she was like saying, well, why didn't you put a little sign there or something? I don't know. But it's just this cultural thing.
And that's across Northumberland.
I think it's across all of Northumberland, yeah.
So I wonder whether we just have to take ownership of this ourselves. And so as a town council, there's a problem. We are receiving all this criticism or questions, whatever. We need to put something out about it on the website and on all our social media and Hexham Matters, saying that don't have to be rude, but so the county council will remove these bins for logistical reasons. You can find 24 bins or something and tell people where they are. We don't have to rehearse why this has happened. We just have to tell them what the alternatives are and nip it in the bud, really.
Yeah, well,
that pathway is very nice.
it is. I mean, and that's essentially what I'm trying to get from the council, from the say, what is your what is
Yeah, but I think we should do it. I think if the county council, we're the people on the front line, really. And so let's take ownership and control of it and sort the problem out.
Can we request the county council to do a clean up of that path where if it is littered with poo bags, then they need cleaning up and somebody to do it.
Did you request a map?
I did. I suggested the create a map.
Because that would be great if you put that on
Yeah.
with what Faye suggested
Yeah.
and make it a big thing and put that there.
But just to answer your point, Stephen, I do not think this is a political thing. I don't think it's anything to do with like the leaders of the council as politicians. I think this is just cultural staffing issues. You know, I'm not going to criticise like the administration because I think they did a great job with that pathway. I'm really impressed with it. But this is just like, to me, is just the lack of forethought of going like, so what happens next? We know the dog, you know.
But don't you think it's daft?
Yeah.
The whole conversation is ridiculous.
It is.
You put path down and you've taken the bins away for people to walk along the path with dogs. Why can't they just put the bins? I'll come on to it later on the brain. But the more I see of the council, and you said it before, Derek, it's the tail wagging the dog with this council, with council officials. I just don't get it. Do as you're told. You know, you paid officials, put the bins back.
But I think this is quite interesting because that's what the report, do you remember the really damning report where the new chief executive was actually that no account was being taken of elected representatives. That actually it was a machine that ran as if the elected representatives didn't exist. So if that's the case, if that's the culture, then why would they tell people that they don't recognise exist? What's going on? And so it's a really big question actually. But it was a public report and it needs addressing all the time.
Yeah, very true. And unless you make a stink, in this case, unless you get a petition, unless you get your own consult, unless you take it to the press, it doesn't happen. And then you do that and then suddenly there's a response. It's quite interesting.
And I think one of the favourite tactics is you know, that they just don't do anything, you just disappear and you forget. That's just one of the greatest tactics. It's awful.
And the thing is, it's deeply undemocratic. I mean, the county councils are elected in the way that we are. And actually, what's the point of having elected representatives? You don't listen to what they have to say.
Very, very disturbing.
So on that point, which is not that at all, that something, because there's an omission on this agenda, can we not hear what the mayor's been doing in the last month? It's not an agenda item because it's dropped off.
We need the chairs though as well, control.
No, the chairs are appointed at the first meeting.
It's not on the agenda, so it's
Not me, can
We'll just have to hear.
We could
next time.
ask the clerk, it's the closest thing to God we've got, whether it's possible to add an agenda item that's been missed off by mistake.
Well, you can suspend standing orders and do that if you wish. I mean, it seems a very. I think mayor's announcement seems a fairly minor issue to.
How rude!
No, it's not one. So it was about the time being footpath, and obviously the dog bin thing. There's the Hexham Town Council has its visits to Noyon on the 24th of May to the 27th of May. Prior to that, they're having a town twin event on the 16th of May just to get everybody together and that AGM. There's the Hidden Horrors taking place on Saturday the 18th of May by Helen Wearmouth, our brilliant town crier. Volo, you all know Volo, is starting his world tour on the 31st of May. There's the Day event on the 6th of June, which you're organising. And just for the wider things, Kim Higgins was elected as the North East Mayor, and Susan Dunworth was elected as the Police Commissioner. With the Council's permission, I would like us to invite Susan Dunworth to attend the Council where we can start talking about the police houses again.
Yes, I support that. Yeah.
Can I just comment on that?
Yeah.
I was going to bring it up under any of the business, but when I had a look at the order for the Police and Crime Commission, they advocate as assets over £8 million, of which those houses must have been part of. And whatever happened previously, I think people chose to ignore what we said. And I think the time to capture people to do something is at the beginning of their tenure, rather at the end. So I've been very supportive of inviting it and talking about it.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we need to get this, we can't let this go. Right, so 17.
What?
17, to determine the administration proposal for Hexham Community Park.
Yes, we had a meeting last week with Hexham Community Partnership about utilising some of their staff to cover some admin duties. Currently, I'm the only person who can enter any payments and sort any payments out for the council. And from the last governance review that we had, it was one of the recommendations that there was either a deputy clerk or some admin function to overcome that issue of over-reliance on an individual. I don't think there's any need for another post at this point in time. We've looked at during FGP, I think it was, at the budgets for what was remaining in staffing to see whether it was covered. There's sufficient money this year to cover a part-time role, and by part-time we're talking 3 or 4 hours a week. Because we only met last week, the community partnership haven't had time to come back with a formal proposal, but I felt it was something that should come to full council because it's a new appointment. So ideally, I would like people to consider 2 things. One in principle, whether they were happy with having a part-time post so that we could overcome the issue of not having anybody who could enter payments. And this person would also be able to, it would take off some of the kind of processy things, both with the new financial software, entering all the data in there, and also some of the cemetery requirements. So it's first to consider whether in principle people would be happy with that, and to secondly to whether people would be happy up to a certain amount of budget to be taken up with that post.
Right, so we'll open it up for debate. So what is being asked for here is an in principle decision that the council needs to purchase 3.5 hours a week.
A week?
Yeah, 3.5 hours a week. This is to do simple processes such as invoicing, payments, and a bit of the burials, documentation. That means that, so Andrew obviously isn't there 5 days a week. He obviously has holidays and all those types of things. So we'll cover that so we process them efficiently, and it also gives Andrew that he so those 3 hours that are being covered, that he can spend time on more higher value pieces of work. The simplest way that we thought was to approach HCP to say, do you have a person who was say maybe working part-time for you or could do that work? So basically say, so there's a lady in HCP, I'm not mentioning the name, who does certain hours, but she would be willing to do another 3 hours or so. So we would be purchasing her time as such. So I'll now open that up for debate.
What's your recommendation?
Well, I'll listen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to support this, and if you remember, not so long ago, we actually had a proper designated post, which was projects manager, because the idea was that this council would raise money from outside, because we can't keep putting the precept up, we can't rely on the precept for the things that we want to do. And our clerk has experience of project management and working on projects, and it seems to me that to remove some of the routine things that can be done by somebody who is happy to do that is also keeps the show on the road when our clerk is not here, because it's entitled to holidays and time off and what have you. We know that those processes are secure no matter what. It does mean that we can actually benefit from our clerk's experience in ways that can only benefit the council. So I applaud that. And as for going to Hexham Community Partnership, we work so closely with them. We know what their functions and their processes and procedures are. And this person who's offered to do it is an exemplary worker and highly experienced. And so it seems like a great idea.
You want to?
Sounds good.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I'll chime in with that and say yes. Exactly that. We know them and they know the town. So it's, it's really forward, but yes, it's a good idea.
Is there any concerns? Alison? Good, I've been diving say that.
My concern is purely that we should have planned for this better when we were appointed, Andrew, and that we should have potentially allowed for more of an admin role under Andrew, and that the concern is that we're just spending more money on wages.
Yeah,
Yes,
I completely agree with that. I think it portrays a lack of foresight, which doesn't look good for us. I think we should judge we should look at past experience and thought, do we need another position underneath? I'd just also be interested to know how the conversation arose in the first place. So does it come about because there's a feeling that there's too much to do for one person?
So I'll come in there. So the first thing, so a couple of things, all valid questions. So the first one was that in that HR report, 19 recommendations, that was mentioned in there saying that there needs to be this admin role to do this function because a clerk cannot always be around. Now, if you recall, we've had several people who've been the second person in the council. So we've had overall, we say always, but in the main, the vast majority of the main, we've had an admin, some sort of admin support, doing various roles, but doing some sort of admin support to the clerk for the life of this council and in the previous councils also. So this is not like, to me, I don't see this as like being a brand new thing. I think this is like actually bringing in what we had, where we've had like Steph in the past, we've had Claire who used to do some admin stuff as well as doing that other stuff. And then we brought Katie in, who that was going to be her job as well. So the other way I look at it is going like, right, how would you get somebody to come and do 3 hours a week for you? I mean, it's the tiniest amount of time ever. You would have to advertise, try and get somebody to come and work for you for 3 hours a week, and I really don't see how you would really do it. Try and get somebody to come and work for you for 3 hours a week. So I was trying to find how do we find the cheapest, the most sensiblest, the most pragmatic solution, and it was like conversation with the HCP to say, would there be some way of that satisfaction being applied there? Obviously, the mention about how we're trying to keep this close relationship with the HCP. So I think there's wider benefits than just having the person actually doing the process of those activities, but as just creates a firmer link to between the town council and the partnership.
I must say I don't understand why what we're doing now is being presented as a lack of planning. We inherited 1.5 administrators, then we had 1.5 administrators, then we had 1.5 administrators, and at the moment we don't have 1.5 administrators. And that's the whole life of this council. And there's always been that conversation, which I keep mentioning and hasn't happened, and I regret this very much, except in the case of me, who brought in £25,000 of my own efforts into the town, is that we have failed to take the opportunity to raise enough money externally. And until we sort out what the role of the clerk and the amount of work the clerk has to do and the support that they have, we're never actually going to address this issue, that we have ambitions that outstretch our budget, and that we need to do that. And I think this is a perfect solution.
Right, I think Ginny and Nancy.
I'd like to point out just a small correction there, Penny, that actually there was a period of probably about 6 months last year when our clerk at the time got into difficulty because we didn't have any additional support. And so actually, yes, I feel that, yeah, we should have planned for this, that we should have recognised that that was a problem, and we should have rectified it when we appointed Andrew.
So conversation with Andrew when he was appointed was that one of the things we asked him to do was to go have a look. We needed that, but it was the question of like how much, because obviously you don't, because it could be I need a day, maybe 2 days, maybe half a day. So the one question that was made with Andrew on one of the first days he came in was to say how much support, because the HR company has said there needs to be a support. It was like how much support, because without knowing that, without knowing Andrew getting on the deck and going like, actually I need half a day, 1 day, 2 days or whatever, that's why I did it, so it's a little more support rather than Stephen. But it's a good point there.
I'm just trying to look at Max.
Yeah.
I wouldn't appoint somebody directly. I would second them from the community partnership and pay the community partnership
That's
money to pay that.
That's what I'm doing.
Right. You're ahead of me.
Yeah.
For the reasons about holiday pay,
Yeah.
sickness, everything else. So we're actually saying to the community partnership, there's an X amount of money there. You pay the national insurance to everything, and then they pay that.
Yes, that was the most pragmatic solution for everybody, was to go, look, the 3 hours we pay the ACP for those hours, I'm guessing. So I think
yeah, just to clarify what you were saying, we had always intended to employ somebody with the previous clerk. We've been waiting to be told exactly what we've been asking Andrew for, was what that person needed to be doing and how many hours was required. So there was never a sort of plan, if you like, to not have a second person, just in terms of continuity of having that second post. It was just as we didn't get to the point of ascertaining how many hours that second person was.
Can I ask then how we have gone from half a member of staff, so that's like 2.5 days a week, down to 3 hours?
Well, let's be honest, I don't know what somebody would do for 2.5 days a week. It's not, the work that's there, I could conceivably do, but it's probably not the highest value work that I could do, and if I'm not there, it can't be done. So really it's if somebody's focused for 3 hours, they can do the data entry for the new financial systems and put the payments on the bank and update the burial records. And I think if somebody's on it, then they could do all that in a week. And I think it helps in a couple of fold, because some of these things aren't always the most urgent, but they are important. And I think having that regularity of activities is good. But really, at this point in time, given the activity that we're doing, I don't think we could really justify any more than half a day a week.
Sure.
If things change in the future and we do more activity and we need more administration, or we need more project management, or we need more whatever, then that dynamic may change. But I think that's where we are at this point in time, and I think that's the advantage of buying in on a largely ad hoc basis from the community partnership rather than committing to a buzz.
Okay. Can I just ask you then, Andrew, in that case, will you be only using those 3 hours that you have got support there for essentially what used to be the project manager's job?
So I mean, I think, I'm contracted to 37 a week, and there's I think it would be a big help to me, because it's things that I don't find particularly interested in, and it's processing stuff which is good if it's done on a regular basis. But no, I mean, I think given the fact that a lot of it is new and a lot of it I've been having to either learn new systems or create new systems or find out about stuff, then this first 4 or 5 months has been a learning curve. But now that I'm starting to embed in, I think there's sufficient time to do more project management.
So that's
I don't have an issue with the admin hours as such. I think what I would like us to maybe consider is the way in which staffing issues are discussed and the way that we come to make any decisions. But it's kind of like this is being presented as something that we need now, but this isn't something that all councillors have had an opportunity to speak about. So I think maybe going forward we need to reconsider how staffing decisions are taken, maybe not purely within the remit of 3-4 people on the staffing committee.
Yeah.
Maybe up and down to
So I think the point as well, Jane, you're absolutely right. So for service, but when I remember speaking with Jane some time ago and said, look, staffing is the most expensive single issue of this council. It needs to be a permanent feature on the F&GP. So Jane had a conversation and said, right, yes, staffing must be on as a permanent agenda item for F&GP going forward. Now, I think it's got lost between the 3 clerks that we've had in quick succession. So I think the point is absolutely well made, Alison. I think you're right. It's just got lost, and it shouldn't have done. So I spoke with Faye and Andrew, and 3 would agree that F&GP will have a permanent staffing agenda item for every single meeting going forward. And even if there's nothing to talk about, at least the prompt is there. But you're absolutely right. It should have been a lot more clearer.
the issue is that we're permanently committed now to quite a few permanent contracts, aren't we?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously there's a lot, digging graves indeed. Yes. Right. Sorry, Faye, not Faye.
I was just going to answer that really, just to say that, yeah, it will be from now onwards. And obviously the reason we brought it to this committee rather than to the next F&GP is this was the first meeting after it was mentioned at the F&GP that we've had for all councillors to be able to discuss it.
I also think the fact that all members can be members of committees unless they elect not to is another way of making sure that everybody knows what's happening. But what I would quite like also, because I take Ginny's point about 2.5 days down to 3.5 hours, is a big diminution, and I've always been very clear that we shouldn't lose this post just through inertia, or because we're trading off against some other financial situation. So I'd quite like to suggest that we have a review of this arrangement, say in 6 months, and that we agree to that, so that if Andrew is aware that that's coming up, then he could say, well, actually, it'd be better if we had more hours, or how's it working? What, you know, I'm aware that we're coming to the end of the life of this particular council, and so it might be that impetus to start new projects is not necessarily there in the same way. I've certainly got projects that I think still need funding. So I think it should be an ongoing conversation, but then after 6 months, perhaps we should find out how it is for the person who's doing that work, how it's working for the clerk, but also how we feel about that process. So I'd like to propose that.
Can I just make a request, Andrew, that the staffing figures that you sent out to the current FMGP with the change to the standing orders so that everybody is now on FMGP, could you just send those figures out to everybody?
Good point. Right, let's give this a good kicking around.
So how long is the contract?
It's not a contract.
So it's just a rolling?
Yeah.
I think that's a joke.
So just to summarise, make it nice and simple as we can. Yeah. So the person would be employed by HCP. They would work for us for 3.5 hours per week. We would then pay HCP the costs associated with that. So we've tried to make it simple, as clear as possible. The HCP are in principle agreed with the person identified. We've got a very, very good reputation, well known, so we haven't got all that. So there's not a lot of risk in this. I think it's very low risk compared to like employment will be new and they'll last 3.5 hours and whether they'll stick around. So I think the risk is really attractive to me on that score. So basically, do we want to, is that what we want in principle?
Well, in principle, an authority to spend up to a certain figure, which is, well, I would say 3.5 a year.
3.5 a year. Okay. Right, so we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour?
Of all of it?
Yes. That's 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Against? 3 against. Okay. Then obviously that will be, F and GP will be talking about that.
So for the purposes of people who are watching this recording, we use quite a lot of acronyms. So what is FMGP, please?
Finance and general purposes.
Thank you.
Right, that's it. Yes. Thank you very much.
Chair, can I just make a,
yes.
I just wanted to make some comments really. I know some of you see me as an unholy alliance, but I am a member of Hexham Civic Society, and I think they're doing some good work. I think they do some great work. And it was highlighted to me in the conversation, very similar to the police houses, those houses near the train station that are owned by whoever, I'm not quite sure whoever, and the comparison between Holt Whistle and the marvellous things they've done in the station with the water tank to the derelict building that's there. Now, I know from being told off before, I can't introduce it at this meeting. Can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting, for us to talk about it specifically? Who owns it and what as a campaign, as a project, that we should be into their ribs saying, why is there 4 empty houses here when there's a housing shortage for that particular type of house in Hexham? And what are you doing about this facility when we've got groups who would be quite willing to do what they've done in Holtwhistle, in Hexham, if you was to give the green light for them to do it? I think there's enough energy in this town for both those projects to succeed, to bring those 4 houses back into use and to tidy up Hexham train station, at least up to the, you know, in comparison terms to what's happened in Holtwhistle. And we've got the Hexham Civic Society who are quite prepared to engage in that particular process.
I'd just like to piggyback on that, Stephen, and ask if we can find out whether, I know the proposal for the old workhouse near the Torch Centre kind of seemed to have caved in, and so like the car parking that was there is now completely fenced off. The Chad House has got awful potholes in the road because this person isn't maintaining their road. So kind of piggybacking on Stephen's, I'd like to know who is responsible for that, and is there any way that we can kind of urge them to take some responsibility for their...
So we could have those as separate items on the agenda. That's what I think this town council should be about.
Would it help if the Civic Society came to talk to us about those 2 issues?
Well, I said to Pat McCall, you may know, Scottish lady, I said I would bring it up at tonight's meeting and they would come the following meeting, knowing
Yes.
that would be the
So
case.
could we invite them to the next meeting?
That's a good idea.
Before we do, can I say that those 4 houses have been reported, we know who owns them. They were reported, and NCC did a report, empty houses, I think last year for unoccupied properties that was shared widely, and it was in emails. So everyone was encouraged to report an empty property, a derelict property next time. So it's been reported several times by lots of different people. I do know somewhere in some emails who owns it. They've had to make it structurally sound recently, so that was done. And then I presume it's being moved with NCC's proposal. I can have a look into it again to see where they've got with it. The other one is 79th Group, that's the workhouse, and they were due to have their planning expire the December before last, but they dug ground, which basically meant they demolished a section of the workhouse, which counted as it continued work. So that's still sitting with planning. And it's sitting with planning because of the market of the building trade at the moment. They're making no excuses for developers at all, but they're watching what goes on with everything else in town. So the Wool House currently, the bus station, fingers crossed, soon. And so they're kind of watching to see what moves and what doesn't within the town. So hence the option's still open on it. It's awful. It's an eyesore. We've had to put fencing, we've had to put CCTV, everything to keep it safe. But they still have the option on it. Yes. So that's.
Can I suggest that we tie this up with something else? So we did talk about our celebration of the completion of the Pizzazz Works. And one of the things that is a blot on the landscape is obviously the bus station. So we could have kickstart some sort of conversation about, we've got this beautiful area of the town. What else should we be looking at in terms of bringing things back into use and up to standard? And I think that would be a useful conversation to have, considering the fact that the Pizzazz work has rendered part of the town. So
yeah, well, there's a running characteristic there, because you've got your police houses, you've got the workhouse, you've got the bus station, you've got the old jail ones, which are 95% done, sitting dead at the moment down the water, and then you've got the old house, which is slowly getting into things. So then there's the ones that you mentioned. So there's lots of opportunities really, but they're all the same thing, aren't they? They're all buildings and houses that should be.
My other way to do, Susan, you know, I'm in favour of you as a politician. What concerns me Well, I'd vote for you. I'd vote for you, Susan.
Not when you're
Strong
running
vote.
not when you're running against.
No. But what upsets me, and I've got something here, very rarely do I praise Mrs. Ball at meetings, but she told me to tidy the office up. And there's dated December the 9th, 2014, purpose of the report, Hexham bus station. And it's all about procedure, it's all about protocols. We're going to do this, we're waiting to do that. This is going on, we're looking at that. Let's put it on the agenda, let's campaign, let's ask the questions, and let's have a public debate about it, and that's the only way these things are getting shifted. For me, for the bus station, there should be a compulsory purchase order on it from either administration in the future. Let's do something, let's be more active.
Yeah, well, we did, to be fair, as a town council, we've backed the section order, which we're hopefully going to get through. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we can't say, unfortunately, at the moment, but to know that the deputy leader backed our section order the other week, and the conversations with Dysart and the head of planning are now at a key stage with regards to interest.
Well, I just want to push them over the line. So.
Well, no, so do I. So do I. But it's moved. We have pushed them to this point. It's just a question of.
I know this might sound tough to say, but I don't trust politicians. I do. You know, we're a year off an election. We're going to sort the bus station out, everybody. I promise you. We're going to sort this out. We're going to sort that. And then in 2034, I still envisage 10 years after this report, we'll still be talking about.
Well, I think that was a huge thing we did with the 215, and it's still there. And we tried district valuation. We've tried to call for that. We've done everything behind the scenes, like the formalities necessary before we go to big show time. But it's.
But we can't get poo bags put in bins, so I'm not over optimistic.
I'm optimistic and it's looking good. Trust me, I'm a politician.
I think Suzanne's a lot more glass half full than I am, but I must say. Because obviously it's been here in conversation with those powers in NCC, and they all like say, oh well, this is happening, and you go like, really. Do you want to mention the £5 million that was supposedly earmarked but has now disappeared?
This is still recording, by the way.
Yeah, go for it.
The £5 million that was promised in December 2021, when I was elected, I can't remember, so long ago. December 21, and so we just weren't happy at Hexham, happiest place to live, and it was going to be Friends Story, and that was bumped off because someone said they had £5 million for the bus station, RMP, and it's on the front page, and so it's there, it's fact. And that was followed up in January. So that money then went, 2.5 million of it went the next year. Why did that move? It wasn't in the budget the next year.
So there was 2 packets of 2.5.
2 packets of 2.5, and now it's been put into a central fund for regeneration, which consists of 7 million. So I asked Mr. Ogden about it at their postings at the school 2 weeks ago, and he was surprised that had happened. So he didn't know that had been moved. So that's been moved without his knowledge, and he put it there. So that's interesting in itself.
So it's just.
So we can have it, should it need to be bought back, but it can't be bought back at below the valuation price. And when we asked if the valuation had been done, they had said it was 3 different councillors, Councillor Wearmouth, Councillor Plosjak and Councillor Sesford in this meeting had said that was legal to do, to buy it back. And I asked what the district value of it was. They said they hadn't done one, and then they've changed it, they have done one. So it is there, and it's lower than what it was bought for. But we know that that's 7 years ago, and since then the Hussars has zhuzhed up the streets somewhat, so it's probably worth a bit more. So we could probably call for another valuation again, although they weren't that keen because the Section 215 is the next thing that needs to be put into play. If the current negotiations don't go far enough, well, if the current negotiations for Dysart fail, that will be the next step. And that's what the Deputy Head of Council has said in writing.
Yeah, so we've asked and said, can you do a new district valuation of that land? Because, you know, it's out of date now, and there's been loads of activity done around the Hussars and stuff. And they're dodgy, let's just say. I don't know why, because it can't cost that much to get a district valuation. You know, if you talk about a land worth X amount of hundreds of thousands of pounds, a district valuation isn't going to cost you that much. But they're just dodging. The 5 million that was allocated for Hexham has been removed and deleted, and it's not available now, and we're going nuts about that, because that was there to do all the things it was there to be for the bus station, plus potential of the old Rob's building. Well, that's now in private hands, so that's away from us. But some of that 5 million should have been ready to step in to do the bus station, should no other solution be found, no private solution be found, and it's been deleted by the county council, which, you know, after all that was being said, is just not cricket really.
So a lively debate next.
So I'd like to ask them that you raise that specifically in your conversation with the Chief Executive.
Yes.
And I think that, I mean, I applaud what Stephen's suggesting, because I think that our job, because we are actually on the ground, is to put pressure on our elected representatives in the county council. And this whole saga is shameful.
Yeah. It's the most popular thing Leo Donald, everybody mentions it.
And that street's finished, and then that's still there, and it funds my blood, quite frankly.
It just makes it very stark.
Yeah.
Right,
Good.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, anybody?